Thank you for this evening. It's been a real pleasure. My question in terms of Islam and democracies and that juxtaposition, not the extreme where, a filmmaker is being murdered, all the cycling to work, but in a less extreme example, for example, our province of Quebec recently went through the process in terms of accommodation. A Muslim woman had to remove her headscarf when she was in French language class or something like that. Can you comment on that? Are you familiar with the case?
Well, I was told about the case, and I was told that it didn't have to do with a headscarf, it had to do with a face covering. That you attend class and you cover your face, you go to court and you cover your face, you hide your identity, and you argue that you're doing that on the basis of your religion. So you're asking society, again, exempt me from the rule of identification. And in that case, I think the individual has to make a choice herself if you want to attend language class. And you know that the rules are your face, not that you can wear your headscarf, you can wear the rest of your Islamic attire, but you have to uncover your face, and it's up to you to make that choice. I mean, think of it this way, the woman in that class is getting language class. It's offered to her. She's got the visa and the president's permit and access to all sorts of rights that she will have in Canada that she can't have in her country of origin or in a country under Sharia law. And she's saying, I want an extra, I want to hide in a context of terrorism my face. I would be very, very nervous having to share a classroom with someone who would hide their face, not because of their religiosity, but because of the context of terrorism that we live in. I want to see who's in class with me. And if people are nervous about that, then I completely and fully understand it. And if I were, in some way, the president of that school or that class, I would say, uncover your face while you're in class, but when you leave the school compound, go cover it again. And I think that ultimately that is going to be the default position.
Toronto right now that's being considered, a woman accusing two men of sexually assaulting her. She has a face covering. I mean, obviously the argument is these men should see their accuser, but the other worry is that if she is forced by the law to take off her face scarf, that this might stifle other women from coming forward with their stories and scare them off.
Let me just demonstrate the face covering. It's something that looks like this.
Can you see through that?
I can see you all, but can you see me? And it has all kinds of beautiful patterns. But the face covering, the other one is much darker and much less to see. You go to a court of law, you are in search of justice. A great injustice has been done to you. You've been raped. You can identify the two men that you accuse, and you want justice. But the judges and the jury want to see your face. How can the judges and the jury and the rest of society know that it is you and not, how will I know every day that someone else will come and hide their face? How can I tell that it's you? You can say, obviously by voice and by all sorts of the other ways of telling them. But I think that it's very, very, very important that she, who is seeking justice, makes that choice. What is more important to her religious beliefs and obligations, or the fact that she finds justice, that those two men who raped her are tried and punished accordingly. If I were her, I would temporarily remove the face covering, see to it that they go to prison, and then just put it on again, where it's allowed.
But your view, she clearly is perhaps one of these women who is being oppressed, forced to submit for years and years for her entire life.
The attitude of I demand that I cover my face in court is not a submissive attitude. It's a very assertive attitude. In fact, it's very aggressive. And if you are assertive and emancipated enough to seek justice in a court of law that is infidel, by the way, It is not a Sharia court of law. It is a secular court of law. And you then refuse to abide, because I don't know if you know it, but wearing the face covering is also an expression of contempt for secular law. It's contempt for women who don't cover themselves. It is contempt for people who do not, practice their religion as you are doing it. And I think most Muslim scholars on this will tell you the face covering is not even necessary. It's not in the Quran. It's not in the Hadith. So it is a provocation of the system. If you want justice, you want those two men to be put away, then go all the way. Uncover, ensure that you prove that they are rapists, ensure that you show the evidence, ensure that they are punished accordingly.
A lot of people will be watching that decision very closely to see what the Court of Appeals decides. Go ahead.
Thanks for coming to Ottawa, and I hope I speak for everyone here and saying hello to you all here. I was hoping you could comment on, or perhaps explain, elaborate to fellow unbelievers and secularists like myself and perhaps others in the audience, your comments on the role Christianity churches might play in countering some of these issues. And I'm also wondering about any feedback you've received from other public atheists, Christopher Hitchens, Sam Harris on that issue, if any.
Well, thank you very much for that question. I think it's very provocative. Richard Dawkins has blogged some marriage and Christopher Hitchens have all blogged Norma. And I got 3 different responses from, I sent each of them a draft of the manuscript. With chapter 16, that is the chapter where I'm encouraging Christians to go into Muslim neighborhoods and convert Muslims into Christianity.
You're not provocative. You consider yourself provocative.
Well, I don't know who's provocative here. You have organizations with resources from Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, other places coming with a lot of money and set up Muslim centers, set up mosques, and indoctrinate these vulnerable minorities to hate the infidel and to conspire in terrorist acts. I find that far more provocative than saying, but I'm provoked to think about it and to say, well, how about if society, Western society, we make use of the institutions that we have and we go into Muslim neighborhoods and Muslim communities and offer them different sets of ideas. Now, there are some who are open to ideas of atheism. Some of the leaders of Infidel who wrote to me said, I was once upon a time a Muslim and I'm not a Muslim now. And I'm a member of the ex-Muslims. There are different organizations of ex-Muslims in Germany and in the United States. I'm a member of them. And then there are individuals like Ershad Manji who say, I want to point out what the trouble is with Islam, open the gates of reason and then reform it from the inside. But I've also met individuals who say, I just simply cannot live with atheism. I agree with you on your analysis of Islam. I have left Islam, but there is most certainly a God. And then they explain to me the concept of a God that they have, Jesus Christ, and the story is He's full of redemption, He is loving, there is a heaven, but they don't talk about a hell. And I find that for those Muslims who cannot and will not live without a God, and I have to admit for all my atheism that there are many, many of them, not just Muslims, but most people simply want to believe in something up there, that the concept of a God like Jesus Christ is cuddly and who's got long hair and nice sandals is much, much more attractive than the concept of a God who says submit and arm yourself with swords and go ahead and behead people. I think that's just, it's very exciting God, and Muhammad was a far more exciting figure than Jesus, but I'd rather that they follow Jesus Christ, because then I can live without bodyguards. So it was really Friday and it was salvation.